host, I'm about to take you on a fun-filled and informative trip across a number of US cities, a number of US states. Well, you'll hear from real people, not the activists most of the media bring you. Here is real America, from woke college kids to the workers who carry the country. When it comes to the top issues for voters, Australians and Americans share plenty in common. The overwhelming majority of voters told us again and again that what they cared about most was the economy, inflation, gas prices, crime, and the border crisis. Less than 1 in 10 voters mentioned abortion, and less than 1 in 20 said anything about climate change. Yet these issues dominate so much media coverage. And we made sure to speak to people from all types of backgrounds. We covered Democrat strongholds from Tallahassee to New Orleans to Dallas County, where Biden secured around 65% of the vote in 2020, and we spoke to Republicans from the idyllic Florida Panhandle to the quaint town of McKinney, Texas. Let's start with woke college kids of Florida State University in Tallahassee, who dutifully regurgitated Democrat talking points.
People will march if there's marches. On campus, we have so many different student organizations. There's a Black Student Union, there's a Veteran Student Union, there's the LGBT plus Student Union, there's a Women's Student Union. There's just so many things you can get involved with, and all of them push for their rights.
The biggest thing that matters to me is just inclusion, making sure everybody is provided for and that there is no, obviously we're in the South, so there's kind of blatant racism and things like that. And I just want to make sure that whoever I vote for is going to be tackling those kind of issues.
And this academic was right on message with the Democrats' latest scare campaign that democracy itself is under threat, but only if you don't vote Democrat.
I think this is one of the most important elections of my lifetime. I feel that the fate of democracy is on the line. When across the country you have 300 plus candidates that have denied the 2020 election, what does that mean if they get into office? I mean, what will that do for future elections?
Of course, the fact that Hillary Clinton and the entire Democrat machinery refused to accept the 2016 result and instead pushed bizarre Russian conspiracy theories has been memory hold. Remember Hillary Clinton claiming that the election was stolen? Let's hear from one last leftist college kid.
I care about women's access to abortion, probably number one, given the recent events in this country. I care about continued access to same-sex marriage and civil rights for same-sex couples, women's right to leading a free life without having to be partnered, all important issues to me.
Women's right not to be partnered? I didn't even know that was an issue. Who is forcing you to be partnered, girl? From deepest blue Tallahassee, we travelled to what is now a safe red area, Madison, where we ran into Crystal from the Federation of Republican Women.
Our governor has guts, and he's articulate, and he knows he has a real plan. He's not just up there willy-nilly. He really has a plan for our state.
Well, it's refreshing to hear that, because in Australia, I think whether you're from the left or the conservative side, we really don't have politicians that inspire us and you really have great faith in. But you've got a couple here who you can really trust.
We have several states. Arizona right now with
Carrie
Lake. She's awesome.
Yeah.
And Texas. We have a lot of states that are now. They've been entrenched in the Democrats so long that now they're beginning to say, the Democrats aren't delivering what they're telling us that they're going to deliver, but the Republicans are. And so we're hoping that more of the good American citizens say, I'm going to start voting conservative, and I'm going to check it out and do it right.
We've seen a dramatic shift in the Hispanic vote, particularly in places like Texas and Florida. Why do you think those voters who were traditionally Democrat from the Hispanic Latino community, why are they opting for the Republicans now?
Well, many of them and their families have actually lived in socialism. When they came from Cuba or Venezuela or some of the other countries, they've already experienced socialism and they don't want any part of it. They already know that that's a failed policy. And if you ever want to own property or you want to have any personal rights, you're not going to have that under socialism. You're going to have somebody else telling you when to do it, how to do it, and how much to do it.
The redneck Riviera, the glorious Florida panhandle, from the opulence of towns like Rosemary Beach, Seaside and Watercolor, where average property prices are close to $4 million, to the more modest townships from Destin to Navarre to Pensacola, where the number one issue was inflation and the cost of living.
You can't afford gas, you can't hardly afford a place to live. Groceries, everything's just outrageous. And especially down here, because tourists, they make the tourists pay more money down there, I think, for everything while they can get it. So, but it needs to be a change somewhere.
And Joe Biden's surprise visit to Florida failed to make any impact with the voters we spoke to. Joe Biden's been in Florida. Were you excited about that?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I didn't realize that he was in Florida. I honestly kind of ignore the news because these days it's a little bit depressing. So yeah, I really didn't know. But what was he here for?
Trying to win Florida.
Of course. Good luck, honestly.
Now, what do you see as the biggest problem in America right now?
It's definitely the economy, the finances. I mean, people are having a hard time buying groceries, gas in their car, just those essential things. Health care, of course. So that's it. Everybody's money.
Next, we left one of the safest Republican areas in the country to travel to one the Democrats hold with a massive margin. In 2020, more than 83% of people in Orleans County voted for Joe Biden. And though the area is riddled with crime with the highest homicide rate in the country, some locals are in good spirits and determined not to let a little thing like elections stop the party.
This great food, the culture, the partying, all that matters to me. I've been here 10 years, and honey, I ain't going nowhere.
So you've got the midterm elections in less than a week. Is that going to stop the partying in New Orleans?
Oh no, none of that stop the partying in New Orleans, baby. None of that can stop the partying in New Orleans. Tends to go up, the inflation tends to go up here because of, I guess, the hurricanes and stuff like that. It tends for them to remodel and stuff, it tends to go up. But at the same time, I don't care. I'm with it.
It's still, well, it's noon, so you're having a...
It could be 6 o'clock.
But among the partying, it was clear that there are many in New Orleans doing it tough. Crime, poverty and homelessness are in your face. And finding a job and supporting a family remain top priorities.
No jobs. You think there are jobs, but there are no jobs. And guess what women are doing? They put you out. You can't pay the bills. You can't take care of the kids. Get out. Every woman wants the man that pay the bills.
Despite being Democrat heartland, we found a Republican. He works in law enforcement, and he was none too pleased with the Democrat mayor and her twisted priorities.
The problem is the mayor doesn't support the police department whatsoever. If you have a mayor that doesn't want to buy the police department gear, but instead spends $7 million on an Afro-Pick sculpture, that tells you exactly what state this city is in. This is an amazing city that they're just letting it go to hell. I mean, the best way to put it. If you're just allowing your police force to downsize, you're literally allowing it by not giving them the equipment that they need, by not allowing them the pay that they need, by letting the criminals run rampant like they are. You're pretty much telling your cops, hey, this is what I think about you.
From New Orleans to Fort Worth, where cowboys abound and longhorns walk the streets, the issue of abortion finally came up, but from a pro-choice voter. And as with the rest of the cities we visited, cost of living was top of mind, as was a hankering for the return of President Trump.
For me, I'd say the most important is probably the pro-life question. I'm very much into the pro-life movement. That's a very core issue to my heart as a practicing Catholic. But I would say generally for Americans, it would probably be the economy. You know, with gas is more expensive, food is more expensive, everything is more expensive. That's a tough one, and I'd say that's probably a big issue for most people. How much do they are going to blame Biden? I think people are going to blame him a lot. I mean, just the fact that Trump was president and the economy was great, and then now Biden's president and the economy's in the toilet. I don't think there's, I think that people just like, whether or not it actually is his fault, there's just a very much a natural association of like, this president was good, this president is bad. That's kind of just how it works. That's how most people are going to think about it.
Trump was putting us in the right direction, but I think that's what we need to come back out of this, the hole we're in right now.
Just 30 minutes from Blue Dallas is an adorable town full of historic buildings, antique shops and cafes, and plenty of Republicans determined to keep McKinney red.
That red wave everyone's talking about is going to eventuate?
No, I think in Collin County we'll be staying Republican for quite a while longer. It's still pretty strong and bred here, very conservative county. So I don't see that changing now, but I do see it changing in the future.
But we also managed to find a Democrat who's still talking Trump.
Nobody wants a repeat of Trump, I can say that. Women's rights, abortion, it's very divided, I'll say that. This area itself is pretty conservative, so people are probably looking at me funny right now.
But it was Jim from Texas Monkey Business who summed up what the top 4 issues were for voters in the midterms.
They're still talking economy, immigration, crime, and of course inflation. That's the 4 big things.
We're only 2 days away from the election. All indicators point to a red wave, but will it be a ripple or a tsunami?